Welcome, dear listener, to Whispers of the Night. Tonight, we invite you to drift into a world of gentle wonders, where clouds carry secrets and the wind hums soft songs. Before we begin, take a deep breath, let your body relax, and if you haven't already, press that subscribe button to join us on this journey of nightly tales and whispers. Tonight's story is called The Cloud That Learned to Sing. Allow your mind to float with the cloud. Let your worries settle like raindrops, and prepare to be carried into a world where even silence has a song. Feel your body soften, your thoughts slow, and know that here you are safe, held within the gentle rhythm of the night. The stars above watch quietly, the world below grows still, and now, together, we will follow the little cloud as it discovers the music hidden within the sky. Now, let yourself follow the cloud as it learns to sing. Watch as it drifts over valleys, mountains, and rivers, carrying within it a gentle hum. Each movement of the cloud sends soft vibrations through the air, touching the forests, the rivers, and even the tiniest blades of grass. Feel how the night absorbs the cloud's melody, how the stars seem to flicker in rhythm. Listening, let your own body sway gently with the story, your breath matching the slow, quiet heartbeat of the sky. Imagine each ripple of light, each invisible note moving through the air, settling in your mind, relaxing every muscle. The wind joins the cloud in its song, rustling through trees, skimming over rivers, carrying the lullaby far and wide. The moon watches calmly, its pale light falling softly on the landscape, brushing the world with peace. The cloud hums again, a little louder now, not to be heard, but to be felt. The world listens silently, mountains, valleys, oceans, and forests, all wrapped in the same melody. You too are part of it. With each inhale, draw in the calm of this night. With each exhale, release your worries into the gentle rhythm of the cloud song. The night has its own music, old as time, quiet yet powerful. And as the cloud drifts slowly above, its song becomes yours. Soft, warm, and endless. Feel it ripple through your chest, your shoulders, your arms, your legs, flowing through every part of you. You are safe. You are calm. You are one with the hum of the sky, with the lullaby that never fades. Let it carry you deeper into rest, letting the last echoes of worry dissolve in the night. Drift, drift, drift. The cloud sings, the stars shimmer, and your body floats in quiet harmony with the universe. Every beat, every vibration, every sigh of the air reminds you that the world is gentle, and so are you. Sleep comes slowly, sweetly, and fully now, as the little cloud continues its timeless song above, carrying peace wherever it drifts. The cloud that learned to sing the sky before the song The morning was still being born. Its first breath was cool and silver, whispering softly across a valley that still dreamt beneath its blanket of mist. The hills were quiet, their shapes blurred into gentle outlines, as though the earth had not yet decided to wake. The rivers murmured faintly, carrying the memory of moonlight through reeds and over smooth stones. Somewhere far away, a bird tried its first note of the day, hesitant and sweet, as if testing the edge of sound. Above this tender world drifted a single, small cloud. It was neither large nor bright, just a wisp of soft white suspended in the newborn blue. Around it, the sky stretched endlessly, deep and hushed. Other clouds moved with the grace of creatures who had long known their purpose. They shimmered with morning light, glowing pink and gold, where the sun's rays kissed their edges. Some gathered together in vast families, shaping mountains in the sky. Others stretched thin and high, weaving silver threads that caught the dawn. But this little one drifted alone. It did not glow the way others did. When the sun rose behind them, it did not boom or flash when the skies gathered into thunderous choirs. It was only a quiet cloud, a wanderer, unsure where to belong. The world below seemed to hum with quiet confidence. The wind moved through trees like a musician tuning an invisible instrument. The grass bent and swayed, whispering together in soft harmony. Even the smallest things, a bee moving from flower to flower, the ripple of water meeting a pebble, made a kind of rhythm that felt alive. The cloud watched and listened, and though it had no ears, it could feel something. The hum of life below reached upward, as if the earth itself were singing. It was a song without words, only movement, breath, and warmth, yet it stirred something deep inside the quiet cloud. For the first time, it wished it could join in. The thought startled it. What could a cloud possibly sing? The thunderclouds sang with booming voices that shook the sky and sent echoes racing through mountains. The storm clouds sang in bright silver flashes, painting lightning's dance across the dark. Even the wisps that brushed the sun could shimmer with radiance, glowing with color and pride. But this one, this small, soft one, had only silence. It drifted gently and watched the others perform, feeling its edges thin and fade as the day grew warmer. As the sun climbed higher, the sky grew busier. The larger clouds gathered, forming towering castles of light and shadow. They roared and rolled, their bellies heavy with rain. The air trembled with power. Birds swooped low, sensing the change. The little cloud hovered at a distance, watching the spectacle with quiet awe. There was beauty in the storm, fierce and alive, yet it frightened the little cloud too. The sound of thunder made it tremble. The flashes of lightning were too bright, too sudden. The storm seemed to shout, while the small cloud barely whispered. When the storm passed, the world grew calm again. The great clouds drifted away, proud of their voices and their display. The sky cleared, washed clean by rain, and once more the little cloud floated alone. Soft, the horizon turned gold, then rose, then lavender. The valleys glowed for a brief moment before surrendering to shadow. The rivers caught the fading light and carried it like a secret down their winding paths. The little cloud lingered high above, watching. The air was cooler now, and everything below seemed to sigh in relief. The wind had calmed. The world was slowing. That was when the cloud noticed something, the faintest vibration in the quiet air. Not thunder, not lightning, but something lighter, more delicate. It came from the crickets singing in the grass, from the gentle rhythm of leaves brushing together, from the river's steady flow and the soft cooing of doves nesting in the eaves of an old tree. The sounds were everywhere, but not loud. They blended into one another like colors on wet paper, forming a single gentle song, the music of evening itself. The little cloud drifted lower, closer to the world's soft breath. It watched the way everything moved in time, the reeds bowing to the wind, the ripples forming perfect circles, the shadows stretching slowly longer and longer. The cloud didn't understand what it was hearing, not quite, but it felt something rise within, a quiet warmth, like the sun returning to its edges from deep within memory. Perhaps, the cloud thought, it doesn't need thunder to be heard. Perhaps there were other kinds of songs. It tried to listen harder, to feel the pattern hidden in the sounds below. But when it tried to move, to echo them in its own way, it could not. Its body remained still, its mist heavy with unformed longing. Night arrived softly, veiling the valley in blue. The stars blinked awake, one by one, like small candles lit in the distance. The moon rose pale and patient, reflecting in every pool and droplet left behind by the storm. The quiet grew deeper, more sacred, the kind of silence that is not empty but full of rest. The cloud hovered close to the moonlight, bathing in its calm. It wanted to ask the moon how it shone so gently, how it made light feel like a lullaby. But the moon did not answer. It only drifted onward, ancient and serene. So the cloud waited. It watched the night unfold, the way fireflies blinked along the riverside, the way mist curled up from the valley again, folding over the sleeping trees. The world seemed to breathe in long, slow sighs, and in that stillness, the cloud began to sense something again, faint but steady. The rhythm of the earth beneath it, the endless exchange between wind and leaf, wave and stone. It was not noise, it was not song as it had imagined. It was movement, a pulse. The same gentle pattern that seemed to live in everything, in tides, in shadows, in the rise and fall of breath. It realized the world was always singing. It always had been. It simply sang so softly that only the patient could hear. The little cloud closed its awareness around that truth and drifted with it. It let the wind carry it without resistance. Let the cool air fill its edges. For the first time, its silence felt peaceful instead of empty. Down below, the fields shimmered faintly under starlight. A fox padded silently across a meadow, leaving no sound but the faint rustle of grass. An owl turned its head, its eyes bright and full of moon. Everything seemed to move in time to that same rhythm. The cloud now floated in perfect harmony with it thought of the thunderclouds, loud and bright and beautiful. It thought of how their songs vanished as soon as they came, leaving only echoes. Perhaps, it wondered, there was room in the sky for another kind of song, one that did not shake the earth, but soothed it, one that was felt more than heard. The thought made it glow faintly, though it did not realize it. The moonlight gathered gently at its edges, catching the faint shimmer of moisture and turning it silver. The little cloud drifted onward, unaware that it was already beginning to shine. As the night deepened, the stars seemed to notice too. They twinkled a little brighter where it passed, as though nodding in quiet approval. The wind curved around it, carrying the scent of rain and pine. The cloud no longer felt so small. It still had no thunder, no lightning, no glow of its own, not yet. But something was awakening within it, a tenderness that listened deeply to the world, a readiness to understand what it meant to sing without sound. And so, beneath the patient eyes of the stars, the cloud drifted toward the edge of dawn once more. The valley below slept peacefully, wrapped in the lullaby of the night. The rivers continued their song. The mist rose again, a gentle ghost embracing the land. The little cloud floated above it all, holding inside itself the first quiet hum of something new, a note not yet born, but already alive. The sky before the song was never truly silent. It only waited for someone to listen deeply enough to hear its beginning. And the little cloud, soft and silver in the moonlight, was beginning to listen. The wind's secret language. Morning unfurled softly across the horizon. The valley below was still wrapped in the silver hush of dawn, dew trembling on the edges of every blade of grass. From high above, the little cloud floated quietly, its edges faintly tinted with the pale gold of sunrise. It had not yet found its song, but something inside it was listening more deeply than ever before. The wind came first as a sigh, a faint stirring, the gentlest movement of breath across the open sky. It brushed through the cloud's soft form, cool and curious, like fingers tracing ripples on water. The cloud drifted slightly, surprised by the sensation. "Who are you?" it asked, though it did not speak aloud. Its voice was more a feeling, a question carried within the air itself. "I am the traveler," the wind answered, its voice everywhere and nowhere. "I move through everything, mountain, forest, ocean, and sky. I have no shape, yet I am never still." The cloud felt a shiver run through its mist. "I've watched you dance through the world," it said. "You make rivers shimmer and trees sway. You even carry the storms. How do you do it?" The wind laughed, not loud, but full, like the rustle of leaves meeting sunlight. "Movement," it said. "That is my secret. When I move, I give voice to the world. Every leaf that trembles, every reed that bends, they all speak through me." The cloud listened, feeling the wind curl through its body, making it sway. "Then you're the one who makes the world sing." "Not I alone," the wind whispered. "The world already sings. I only carry its breath." For a while, they drifted together, the cloud and the wind, side by side in the endless blue. Below them, the forests began to awaken. The wind slipped between the trees, whispering secrets to the branches. Each one responded in its own way, a creak, a rustle, a sigh, and all those sounds together wove a tapestry of motion. "Listen," the wind said. "This is how sound is born." The cloud tried to listen the way it had before, not with ears, but with stillness, and slowly it began to understand. Every note of sound was a wave, a pattern of tiny pushes and pulls that rippled through the air. When a bird sang, it was not only song, but movement, air trembling in time. When a branch bent or a river struck stone, it sent invisible shivers outward that touched everything nearby. The world hums, the wind murmured. Every breath, every heartbeat, every wing beat, they all move the air. I carry them so others may feel them. The cloud thought for a long time. Then sound isn't just noise, it said softly. Touch, traveling through air. The wind twirled gently through the clouds, vapor, pleased. Yes, vibration is a kind of touch. You cannot see it, yet it moves through you. It reminds us that even silence is full of motion. The cloud drifted slower now, feeling each current of air that passed through it. The touch of the wind became music, not the kind one could hear, but the kind one could feel it, wanted to join in. It wanted to make something move, to send its own vibration into the world, so it gathered itself, pulling its mist close, and tried to hum a low, trembling breath that rippled faintly along its edges. For a moment, it thought it had done it. But as soon as the sound began, the wind caught it and scattered it like 1,000 silver threads. The cloud's voice vanished into the open sky. "I can't," it said quietly. "Every time I try, I disappear." The wind circled it gently, like a parent soothing a frightened child. "Every song begins with listening," it whispered. "You cannot sing what you have not first felt." The cloud sighed, a soft exhale that drifted through its own form. "But I've been listening to the rivers, to the rain, to you." "Yes," said the wind, "but you have not yet listened to yourself." The words hung in the air like a question the cloud did not know how to answer. The wind swept lower, then gliding between the mountains and through the deep valleys. "Come," it beckoned. "Let me show you how the earth listens to me." The cloud followed. They drifted above rolling hills where the morning light poured like honey through the mist. The wind brushed over the grass, making waves of green ripple outward in every direction. It danced across the surface of a lake, turning it into 1,000 trembling mirrors. It moved through pine trees, making their needles whisper and hum. "See how they move when I touch them," the wind said. "That is the secret of sound. It is not only what you send out, it is what you awaken in others." The cloud felt wonder stir within it again, the same way it had when it first heard the world's quiet hum. "So every song is shared," it murmured. "It travels from one heart to another, carried by you." The wind smiled, if wind could smile, and swept higher again, carrying the scent of wet soil and wildflowers with it. "That is why I never keep still," it said. "When I stop moving, the world falls quiet. But when I dance, even the mountains speak." They rose higher, into the open air where the sky widened endlessly. The wind grew faster here, its tone shifting from whisper to hum to low, steady rush. The cloud floated within it, feeling each subtle vibration roll through its misty body. "This is my language," the wind said. "It has no words, only rhythm." The cloud felt the rhythm, long waves, short waves, ripples that tickled and deep ones that rumbled like distant memory. The air seemed alive with motion, and the cloud could almost sense patterns, invisible songs written in movement and air. "Every creature speaks it," said the wind. "Even you, though you do not yet know it. When you move, when you change shape, when you release your reign, the air carries your story. The world hears you, even if you do not." The cloud grew very still. "Then maybe I've been speaking all along," it said softly, just in a language I couldn't hear. "Exactly," the wind whispered, circling it once more. "You have always had a voice. You only needed to remember how to listen to the spaces between sound, the quiet that gives the world meaning." The sun rose higher, turning the sky a gentle gold. Far below, the river glimmered like a silver thread weaving through the valley. The day's warmth began to lift the air, and the wind softened, slowing to a lazy drift. Together, they floated in silence. But it was not the silence of emptiness. It was full, steady breathing. The cloud began to notice how even stillness moved, how the warmth of the sun rose in invisible spirals, how distant wings cut through the air in soft beats. The whole world pulsed quietly. That was when the cloud began to hum again, not with effort this time, but with feeling. A faint vibration rippled from within its mist, as though it were remembering something ancient. The sound was fragile and uncertain, but the wind felt it. "You see, you are not silent." The cloud trembled, afraid it might fade again, but the sound lingered, soft, airy, like a breath brushing glass. It did not echo or roar, but it stayed. The wind moved gently through the cloud, guiding the rhythm, keeping it steady. Do not force it. Let it flow like breath through you. A song is not something you make. It is something you allow. So the cloud let go. It drifted, open and quiet. Below, the valley shimmered with light. The world seemed to hold its breath, not in waiting, but in listening. The hum blended with the air, and for a moment, it was impossible to tell where the cloud ended and the wind began. They moved together as one, air flowing through vapor, vapor shaping air. It was not thunder. It was not lightning. It was something smaller, softer, and yet it carried far, a voice made of stillness and motion entwined. The wind slowed again, whispering, "Now you know what I meant. Sound is not always loud. Sometimes it's just the air remembering how to move." The cloud glowed faintly at its edges, touched by light. "Then that's how I'll learn to sing," it said quietly. "Not by being louder, but by learning how to move with the world." "Yes," the wind said, its voice already stretching toward the horizon. "And one day, the world will move with you." The cloud drifted alone again for a while, but it no longer felt lonely. It carried with it the wind's lesson that every whisper, every tremor, every ripple in the air was part of a grand conversation between sky and earth. As afternoon settled in, it watched flocks of birds glide through the high currents, their wings cutting graceful paths through the invisible sea. It saw the way they used the wind's rhythm, rising, gliding, turning, without fighting it. They did not sing to control the sky. They sang to belong to it. The little cloud closed around that thought like a secret, glowing faintly in the sun. The world moved. The wind listened, and now, at last, the cloud had begun to understand how songs were born, not from the desire to be heard, but from the willingness to listen deeply enough that the heart itself begins to echo what it feels. As the light turned softer and the horizon warmed toward evening, the cloud felt its edges shimmer with quiet warmth. It was learning the first language of song, the language of air, movement, and breath, and somewhere far below, the wind whispered through the trees once more, carrying a note so faint it could only be felt, not heard. The cloud smiled within its mist. The sky had begun to teach it how to sing. Rain lessons. The day was soft and silver. Cloudlight drifted through the morning like a sigh, and the little cloud moved slowly over the valley, still carrying the wind's words deep within its mist. Every song begins with listening. It had listened to the wind, to the forests, to its own quiet heartbeat of vapor and breath. Now it wished to sing, not as thunder did, loud and flashing, but in its own soft way, gentle as dawn on still water. The wind had drifted elsewhere, wandering toward distant seas, but its voice remained in the cloud's memory. "Move with the world," it had said. And so the little cloud began to move slower this time, with purpose, as though it were following an invisible rhythm written in the air. Below it, the valley stirred with life. Children stepped out from wooden cottages, chasing the warmth of the sun. A shepherd led his flock through fields that shimmered with dew. Birds called across the open sky, their songs bouncing from hill to hill like laughter made of air. The world was awake, and yet the cloud felt something within it growing heavier, rounder, a fullness that wasn't sorrow, but something close to it. It looked inward and saw droplets forming tiny, trembling pearls of water, suspended in its mist. They shimmered with sunlight, gathering together slowly, quietly, like thoughts before they find their words. What is happening to me? The cloud wondered aloud. A familiar whisper passed through it, faint but kind. "You are learning to hold," said the voice of the wind, brushing lightly against its edge. "Every note must first gather before it can sing." The cloud thought about that, letting the droplets grow. Each one formed when warm air from the valley rose and met the cloud's cool heart. The invisible vapor, the warmth of living things, climbed upward and met the cold. And there, in that meeting, magic happened. The vapor turned to water. Tiny crystals gathered and melted into round, clear drops. Condensation, the invisible made visible. The cloud could feel the science of it. Within its own being, the cooling of air, the joining of moisture, the quiet chemistry of life. But more than that, it felt the emotion of it, the tenderness of holding something precious long enough to let it fall freely when the time came. Each droplet shimmered like a secret, wasn't ready to tell. "I feel full," the cloud whispered, But I don't know what to do with all this. The wind brushed its edge again, playful and knowing. When you are ready, it said, you will know. A song is not meant to be kept. It is meant to be released. So the cloud floated on, heavy with unsung notes. The day grew stiller, the air thick with waiting. Down below, a farmer glanced up, shading his eyes. The sky looked calm, yet something in its color promised change. The trees began to murmur, sensing what was coming. The cloud trembled. The droplets inside it shivered, clinging to one another. I'm afraid, it confessed softly to the open sky. What if I fall apart? The wind's reply was gentle. Perhaps falling apart is how you become whole. And with that, the first droplet fell. It slipped from the edge of the cloud like a single note plucked from a harp, falling slowly, catching the light, turning gold, then silver, then clear. It struck the surface of a leaf, bounced once, and slid down its green vein to the earth below. Then another fell, and another, and another. Soon, the cloud was no longer holding back. It opened itself completely, releasing its gathered breath into the world. The rain began. It was not a storm, no thunder, no lightning, just a gentle patter. A soft music played by thousands of tiny hands. Each drop found its own rhythm, one tapping on rooftops, another drumming softly on leaves, another ringing faintly on stones. Together, they created a melody, uneven but perfect, scattered yet whole. The sound was everywhere, on soil, on wood, on skin. The world leaned in to listen. A girl in a cottage window smiled, pressing her forehead to the cool glass as drops traced little rivers across it. A cat curled beneath the eaves, its tail flicking contentedly as the sound wrapped around it like a lullaby in the fields. The sheep huddled close, calm beneath the soft percussion of the rain. Even the trees seemed to sigh, their branches lowering in relief as each drop kissed their thirsty leaves. The cloud felt lighter with every fall. Each droplet that left it took with it a piece of its heaviness. Yet somehow, it did not feel smaller. It felt more alive. The sound of rain below echoed upward, reaching it again, transformed. It was hearing itself for the first time, its voice mirrored in every ripple, every tap, every hush. This is me, it whispered in wonder. This is my song. And indeed, it was. The science of rain was simple. Warm vapor meeting cold air, droplets growing heavy enough to fall. But the feeling of rain was anything but simple. It was the sound of letting go. It was rhythm, born from release. Each drop a note, each splash a heartbeat, together forming a lullaby for the earth. As the rain deepened, the valley grew quieter. The children ran indoors, laughing as they dripped on wooden floors. The farmer leaned on his fence, hat tilted low, listening. The rivers swelled gently, their surfaces turning to liquid glass. And then something beautiful happened. The cloud heard the world, responding. The roofs answered with soft thuds. The leaves replied in whispers. The river hummed back in low tones, carrying the rain's rhythm downstream. It was call and response, the first duet between the cloud and the world. Below. The rain wasn't just falling, it was speaking. the sound waves, tiny ripples of moving air, danced upward through the mist. Each one vibrated differently depending on where it struck: a wooden beam, a stone path, a lily pad, creating 1,000 tones of resonance. The cloud realized that it was listening to the science of beauty itself. That sound was nothing more than air learning to move in sympathy with what touched it in that moment. The cloud understood the wind's words completely. Listening and releasing were not opposites. They were parts of the same song. As twilight approached, the rain slowed to a gentle drizzle. The last few drops clung to its edges, reluctant to leave. The air smelled of wet earth and pine, clean and new. Below, windows glowed softly, golden rectangles of warmth behind the silver veil of rain. In one of those cottages, a family gathered near the fire. The father hummed a tune, slow and steady, matching the rhythm of the rain outside. The mother closed her eyes, rocking a baby whose breath soon fell into the same quiet tempo. The little one's hand twitched once, then went still. The sound of rain became their lullaby, and sleep came as gently as a sigh. The cloud drifted lower, watching through the shimmer of droplets. Everywhere it looked, the world was wrapped in calm. Animals huddled together beneath trees, their fur damp and warm. Birds nestled in their nests, heads tucked beneath wings. Even the restless wind had quieted, letting the rain's song fill the world alone. The cloud smiled, not outwardly, for clouds do not smile the way faces do, but inwardly, in the way light spreads gently through mist. It had not known that its song could soothe, that it could bring such peace. And as it looked across the sleepy valley, it realized something deeper still, that music was not only what could be heard, but what could be felt. The rhythm of rain matched the rhythm of the heart, steady, soft, persistent. It spoke the same language as breathing, as dreaming, as the turning of tides. To sing was to join the pattern of all things. To let go was to return what one had gathered to where it belonged. The rain continued through the night, thinning until it became a fine mist that curled and clung to everything, to the rooftops, to the leaves, to the skin of the world itself. When dawn finally came again, the valley glistened. Drops hung from every branch, every blade of grass, catching the first gold light of morning. The rivers ran clear, laughing softly in their courses. The air smelled alive, and high above, the little cloud drifted light and free. It had given all it held, and yet it felt full, filled with something invisible and endless. It understood now that the act of raining was not an ending, but a song in motion, a melody made of falling, releasing, and returning. What it gave became the breath of rivers, the green of trees, the mist that would one day rise again to form new clouds. The cycle itself was the symphony. The cloud closed its awareness around that, thought like a prayer. Perhaps every being, earth, sky, and heart alike, learned the same lesson in time, that beauty is born when we release what we've held too tightly, and that even falling can sound like music if we listen the right way. The rain's echo faded into morning light, leaving only a hush, a silence shaped like gratitude. The cloud floated higher, carrying that silence within it, its first song still humming softly in memory. The world below sparkled, the sky above waited, and the little cloud, now wiser, lighter, and full of wonder, drifted on, ready to learn what new songs the world might teach next. Thunder's Dance. The morning sky had stretched wide and endless, pale as a half-remembered dream. The little cloud drifted quietly at first, light and slow, watching the horizon shift from gold to silver to soft gray. It had learned the language of the wind, now the hush of its breath, the rhythm of its passing. It had learned to sing with the rain, small, gentle notes falling into rivers and rooftops. But still, there was a silence deep inside, a space waiting for something greater. A pulse, perhaps, a heartbeat that day. The sky felt different. The air trembled faintly, as though it carried a secret waiting to break free. Shadows gathered at the edges of the heavens, thickening like ink in water. And from the far side of the valley, where the sun was only a dim shimmer through mist, came a sound, low and distant at first, like a drum rolling beneath the clouds. The little cloud paused mid-drift. The sound deepened, grew closer, swelling with a power it had never known. A flash of white fire streaked through the gray. Thunder followed, rumbling so deeply that even the mountains seemed to hum in reply. Then, from within that storm, it saw him an old thundercloud, vast and luminous, his body dark but edged with light that pulsed like veins of silver and gold. His voice rolled across the sky, warm and strong, yet full of patience, the sound of age and memory. "You tremble," said the thundercloud, his tone rumbling like laughter carried through rain. "Don't be afraid. The sky only grows loud when it needs to speak." The little cloud drifted closer, shyly. "I've never spoken like that," it said. "My voice is soft. It only falls in drops." The great thundercloud smiled, or perhaps it was just the curve of lightning tracing across his side. "Every song has its time. You've learned the whisper of rain, the hum of the wind. But thunder," he said, "thunder is the heartbeat of the sky." He lifted his vast shape, rising higher, and the little cloud followed. The air grew heavy and electric, full of energy, so alive it made the cloud's edges quiver. The thundercloud's glow flickered again, a flash, then another, bright threads dancing between folds of vapor. "What makes it?" the little cloud asked, watching in awe as light split the horizon. "Lightning," said the elder cloud softly. "It's the meeting of opposites. When warm air rises and cold air falls. When energy builds until the sky can no longer hold it, it bursts. A sudden balance restored through light." He paused, letting another bolt crackle from his heart to the distant earth below. The light illuminated valleys, rivers, and trees all at once, and then, a moment later, came the sound, a long, deep rumble that rolled through the heavens. "That's thunder," the old cloud continued. "It's the sound of air remembering what lightning just changed." The air expands suddenly from the heat, and the world answers. The sky vibrates, just like your rain, just like a drum. Thunder is the echo of courage. The little cloud listened closely, each word stirring something inside it. It had never thought of sound as courage before, but as it watched the lightning dance, dazzling and wild, yet strangely graceful, it understood. The storm was not anger, it was energy finding its balance. Chaos, learning to move with purpose. Can I learn to do that? The cloud asked quietly. The old one turned his vast gleaming face toward the small, misty shape. You already are, he said. But thunder isn't about loudness, it's about truth. When the sky speaks from its heart, everything listens. The little cloud let the words settle like rain. Around them, the air shimmered, alive with tension and beauty. The first drops began to fall, large, heavy beads of rain that made the rivers below leap with joy. The lightning danced again, this time branching out across the sky in elegant threads. The sound followed, not as frightening now, but rhythmic, like the deep beat of some hidden drum guiding the storm's song. The great thundercloud began to move, swirling slowly, his form turning in slow circles. Come, he called gently, let's dance. At first, the little cloud didn't understand. But then, as the thundercloud spun, its edges flashing, the wind caught the smaller one and pulled it into motion. Together they swirled and curved, their vapor twisting like ribbons across the wide gray expanse. Each movement brought a new sound, a roll, a crash, a deep hum that resonated through the air. Lightning stitched the sky from edge to edge. The rain fell in long silvery curtains. The world below shimmered, glistening and alive. The little cloud felt something new, a pulse within its chest, as though every drop it carried was vibrating with life. When the lightning struck again, it felt the air split, expand, and sing. The thunder followed, its echo warm, vast, and kind. For a moment, the little cloud forgot its smallness. It moved with the Great One, learning how to bend light into song, how to let power flow without fear. The dance became a rhythm, flash, breath, release, each motion a note in a great sky symphony between the beats of thunder. The Old One spoke again. Every voice in the sky is born from listening. You learned to hear the wind and the rain. Now you learn to hear yourself. The little cloud shimmered, touched by lightning's glow. But what if I'm not meant to be loud? It whispered. The old cloud's laughter rolled like gentle thunder across the valleys. Loudness is not the measure of power, he said. A whisper can move mountains if spoken with truth. The storm's strength comes from harmony, sound and silence, light and dark, rising and falling. The beauty lies in balance. Beneath them, the world was washed clean. Rivers swelled softly, forests shivered with droplets, and fields glistened like mirrors. The storm's reflection rippled through every puddle, the light above meeting its echo below. The little cloud felt that reflection too, deep within. It had thought thunder was noise, chaos, perhaps. But now it saw that it was music, the sky's most ancient rhythm, a heartbeat so vast that even silence bowed to it. For hours, they moved together, not in fury, but in grace. The lightning arced like dancers' arms, thunder like applause that followed each motion. And when finally the storm began to fade, the light softened, the thunder slowed, the world exhaled. The old cloud turned once more to the small one, his edges faintly glowing gold in the calm after the storm. "You've learned well," he said. "The song of thunder isn't just in your voice, it's in your courage to let the sky move through you." The little cloud drifted beside him, now faintly glowing too, its edges lined with silver. "Thank you," it said. "I think I understand. It's not just about sound, is it? It's about meaning." The elder cloud's shape began to dissolve, thinning as he prepared to wander onward. "Exactly," he murmured, his voice a final rumble. "Every song in the sky, the wind, the rain, the thunder, is born from the same breath. When you sing, little one, remember, the world listens, even when it's quiet." And then he was gone, fading into the horizon where the sun began to return. The light that followed the storm was gentle, like a hand smoothing ripples from water. The valley below gleamed with droplets, every leaf, every stone, glistening as though the world had been polished by music itself. The little cloud floated in the quiet aftermath, glowing faintly. The air still trembled with the memory of thunder, that deep, echoing sound that lingered even after silence returned. It felt no longer afraid of its voice. It had learned that every vibration, every hum, every breath carried meaning. Even the smallest sigh of wind could change the rhythm of the world. It drifted slowly across the valley, watching sunlight break through the thinning gray. Rays of light poured down like soft strings of gold, turning puddles into mirrors. From far below, a child stepped out of a small wooden home, looking up with wonder. The cloud recognized the expression, all mixed with peace. The child smiled and raised a hand, as if waving at the sky. And though the little cloud could not speak, it felt something inside respond, a vibration, a hum, quiet but sure, not thunder, not rain, something between both. It realized that thunder didn't need to be frightening, and that storms didn't always mean destruction. Sometimes they were just the sky reminding itself how to breathe. Sometimes thunder was a song of release, of balance restored. The little cloud lingered until dusk began to rise, watching the fading colors drift through the moist air. In that soft evening glow, it felt the last echoes of thunder hum gently through its form, a pulse, a promise, a memory, and in that hum, the cloud felt its next lesson waiting beyond the horizon. It drifted onward, not as it once was, silent and uncertain, but alive with rhythm. The sky stretched wide and welcoming, filled with the quiet promise of new melodies yet to be born. The night that heard the song, the storm had wandered far by the time the sun fell. Evening poured slowly into the sky, not sudden, not loud, but soft as breath. The clouds thinned into gentle trails, their edges kissed with the faint pink of the setting light. The mountains, still damp from rain, shimmered with silver mist, and every leaf held a memory of thunder, a droplet, trembling, shining, waiting to fall. The little cloud drifted quietly above it all. It was lighter now, emptied of rain, yet full of something else, a hum. It wasn't the rolling voice of thunder, nor the patter of rain. It was something smaller, softer, a vibration that pulsed within its being, not through sound alone, but through feeling. The same way a heartbeat can be felt through a palm resting gently over the chest. The cloud had learned that sound was not only something that world heard, it was something the world felt. The sky had become a deep indigo by now, the last warmth of sunset melting into the edges of twilight. One by one, stars blinked awake, quiet and curious, like listeners gathering for a story. The moon rose soon after, calm and radiant, dressed in her soft, white glow. The world below had grown still. Lamps flickered in cottages, and the fields glimmered faintly, exhaling mist that looked almost like breath. The little cloud floated higher, seeking the open quiet of night. It felt the sky expanding around it, vast, endless, forgiving. And then, without knowing quite why, it began to hum. It started as a whisper, the faintest vibration of air, a sigh of vapor shifting and stretching. The hum rippled outward, gentle as ripples across a pond. The sound wasn't made of words or melody, but emotion, a kind of invisible pulse that reached beyond the senses. It carried no message, no need to be understood. It simply was. The stars shimmered in answer. Their light seemed to flicker in rhythm, faint twinkles sinking to the clouds' invisible song. Below, the forest leaves rustled once, then stilled again, as if the earth itself was listening, and the moon, old, patient, and luminous, watched in silence. The cloud had no audience, and yet the whole world seemed to listen. It had no words, and yet it was speaking the oldest language of all: vibration, movement, life. It remembered the wind's lessons, how sound travels through air, carried by the tiniest changes in pressure, the smallest shifts of motion. Every sound, no matter how soft, begins as a trembling, a breath that touches the world and leaves behind a shape of itself. Even silence, it realized, was not the absence of sound, but the space that gives it meaning. As it hummed, the air around it responded. The vibration rippled outward, blending into the cold night layers, thin, light, endless. Some waves dissolved into silence. Others echoed faintly, bouncing between mountains, whispering through valleys. Every echo was different, shaped by the land, softened by trees, scattered by water, and yet, together, they formed something whole. Down below, a small lake caught the reflection of the stars. Its surface quivered as a soft breeze crossed it, the same breeze the cloud had stirred. The ripples spread gently across the water, carrying light and sound together. In that mirrored sky below, the world looked upside down, the stars floating beneath, the moon resting within reach, and the cloud itself reflected like a ghostly twin dot. It looked down and saw its reflection singing back, and for a moment, it wasn't sure where the sound truly came from, above or below. That was when it understood. Sound doesn't belong to the one who makes it. It belongs to the space it fills. The little cloud's hum grew steadier, richer. It was still soft, almost inaudible, but filled with something warm and full. The air shimmered faintly with each wave, a gentle pulse that touched the edges of stars. The vibrations seemed to blend into the night's rhythm, the slow beating of crickets' wings, the far-off hoot of an owl, the sigh of trees, heavy with dew. Everything was music, and silence was the space between its notes. From afar, the moon's light shimmered across the cloud's edges, silvering it softly. "You've learned to sing," the moon whispered, in the way only light can speak, wordless but understood. "I didn't mean to," the cloud thought. "It just happened." "That's how all true songs begin," replied the moon. "Not from wanting to be heard, but from needing to feel. The sky hums, not for the world below, but for its own heart. Each sound is a reminder that we are alive." The cloud let the moon's words linger like a breeze between stars. For so long, it had searched for a voice that others could hear. Thunder's boldness, rain's rhythm, wind's melody. But tonight it realized the quiet hum was enough. It didn't need to shake the mountains or echo through valleys. Its song lived in the stillness it created, in the calm that spread wherever it drifted beneath it. The world began to glow faintly with moonlight. The rivers glittered like threads of glass. Animals emerged from their shelters, a deer by the forest edge, a fox pausing by a stream. Even the night birds flew slower, their wings beating softly, as though tuned to the same slow rhythm of peace. The cloud song moved gently through the air, invisible and endless. Each vibration touched something, a leaf, the sound of emotion without form, the feeling of being connected without touch. If one could have listened closely, one might have noticed that the cloud wasn't truly singing, it was remembering. Each note was a memory of wind, of rain, of thunder, of every teacher that had shaped its voice. Its hum carried their echoes too, blending them into something whole. The sharpness of thunder softened into the breath of wind. The rhythm of rain merged into silence. What remained was pure and gentle. Like a cradle song, the sky sang to itself. Hours passed quietly. The moon climbed higher, drawing a path of silver across the sleeping world. The stars wheeled above like slow, glowing dancers. And still, the cloud, hummed. It felt the sound resonate, not just around it, but within, through every droplet of vapor, through every curl of mist. The vibration wasn't loud, but it was alive, the science of it. Even in silence, everything vibrated. Atoms, air, starlight, thought. The universe itself was one great hum, stretching endlessly, soft and eternal. And in that moment, the little cloud felt itself a part of it. It no longer felt small or lost or voiceless. It no longer needed to thunder to be heard. It had become a note in a far greater melody, one that began long before it formed and would continue long after it faded. It drifted for a while longer, tracing the slow spin of the sky. It watched the moonlight stroke the peaks of mountains, saw fireflies rise from meadows like tiny stars escaping the earth. Somewhere far below, a child stirred in sleep and smiled, sensing without waking the calm that filled the air. The vibration of peace had reached even there. The cloud felt content. It sang not for the world, not for the stars, not even for itself. It sang because the sky was never truly silent. It only waited for someone to remember how to listen. When, at last, the night began to pale, the first hint of morning coloring the horizon in soft lavender, the cloud grew still. Its hum faded gently, blending into the quiet breath of dawn. Around it, the stars dimmed one by one, bowing to the coming light. The moon lingered a moment longer, as though to listen one last time. Then she whispered, "Your song will stay, even when you no longer can hear it." The little cloud shimmered faintly in reply, a soft, silver sigh. It knew she was right. Sound never truly ends. It only travels onward, stretching thinner, softer, until it becomes silence again. And even silence remembers the shape of every note it has ever held. Below, the earth exhaled. Mist rose from the fields. The first bird sang a single, simple tone, and the sky answered with the faintest hum, still carried by the small cloud who had once been afraid to speak. The world awoke slowly, tenderly, wrapped in the last echo of the night's song. And as dawn's light reached across the valley, the little cloud smiled, if clouds could smile, and drifted toward the east, ready to greet the new day, carrying within it the peace of all it had learned. The night had heard its song, the sky had answered, and somewhere between sound and silence, a small cloud had finally found its voice. The lullaby that never fades. Time in the sky moves differently. What feels like a breath to the clouds is an age to the earth below. Seasons roll over one another like waves. Years fold quietly into centuries. And yet, some things never truly vanish. They linger, carried by motion, by memory, by the endless hum that never stops moving. Long after that small, singing cloud drifted beyond the horizon, its voice remained, not as thunder or rain or whisper, but as something quieter, something that slipped between moments and settled inside them. The sky had heard its song, and the world had remembered. It began in the ocean. Waves rose and fell with slow, rhythmic grace, their crests curling like soft exhalations. When the wind brushed across them, they hummed faintly, a sound older than speech, the song of air meeting water, of motion returning to rest. The waves carried that hum for miles and miles, their foam catching sunlight, their rhythm echoing the first heartbeat of the sky. Fishermen, setting out before dawn, sometimes paused at sea and listened. They could not name what they heard, a low, almost musical pulse hidden beneath the water's surface. But in their hearts, they felt calm. They would smile quietly and say, "The sea is singing tonight." And though they didn't know it, they were hearing the echo of that cloud, the one that had once learned to turn silence into music far inland. Rain began to fall. It had no thunder behind it now, no storm to announce it, only a gentle patter, steady and kind. It kissed rooftops, tapped on leaves, and slid down window panes like fingers tracing a lullaby. Every drop carried memory, the rhythm of release, the courage of letting go. To the children lying beneath warm blankets, that sound became a promise. They would close their eyes and drift toward dreams, their breaths matching the rhythm of the rain. In that quiet space between waking and sleep, they would hear it, the faint hum within the hush, and feel, without knowing why, that they were safe. Through centuries, the sound never left. It changed its shape, as all songs do, but never its meaning. When the wind moved through tall fields of wheat, it carried the same rhythm, soft, swaying, endless, and alive. When forests shivered beneath the touch of breeze, each leaf became a note in that eternal melody. Even snow, falling silently upon frozen rivers, seemed to hum its own wordless version, a whisper of peace, a pause between verses. The world had become a great orchestra of quiet things, in the hush of dawns and the sigh of twilights. The song lived on, not in grand crescendos, but in the small, unnoticed sounds that shaped life's gentleness, the rustle of grass, the heartbeat of waves, the whisper of rain across the sleeping earth. Every sound was a reminder that silence, too, has music, that the spaces between things, between raindrops, between breaths, between moments, are where the world keeps its softest truths. No one remembered the little cloud by name, of course. It had long since dissolved into mist and memory, but in the endless cycle of the sky, clouds continued to form newborn shapes, drawn from vapor and light. Each one carried within it a trace of the first song, a vibration too small to be seen, but deep enough to be felt. Perhaps that is why the world feels calm when it rains, why people pause at windows, close their eyes, and breathe a little slower. Somewhere inside, the body remembers not just the sound, but the feeling of connection, the way everything once hummed together: wind, water, sky, and heart. And maybe, when the night grows very still, and the stars hang low and clear, the sky hums again, softly, so softly, for those who still listen. The moon knows the tune by heart. She's heard it since the beginning, the quiet song that drifted up one night from a small cloud's breath. Even now, she hums it back in her own way, turning light into rhythm, letting beams fall like slow notes onto sleeping fields. If you listen, truly listen, you might hear it, not as a sound, but as a feeling, a warmth just beneath the quiet. The way air trembles when peace fills it, the way a heart sighs when the world seems still once. A traveler walking through the forest at dusk heard the wind move through the trees and stopped. It was just air brushing leaves, and yet it wasn't. There was something familiar in it, something like a memory, a soft vibration that settled behind the ribs that made the silence afterward feel alive. The traveler smiled and whispered, "It's singing." And somewhere, miles above, the clouds stirred gently, almost in reply. Even the mountains, those great keepers of time, held the hum within their valleys. When thunder rolled through them, they remembered the shape of it, not as fear, but as balance, not as noise, but as truth. Echoes folded into echoes, carrying the same message across generations. Every sound, no matter how small, belongs. And so, the lullaby continued, not as a song to be heard, but as a rhythm to be felt. It drifted across oceans, through forests, over sleeping towns. It slipped beneath doors, curled into dreams, and lingered in the air between heartbeats. It was the lullaby of connection, the one that reminded everything it touched that it was never truly alone. One night, centuries later, rain began to fall again over a quiet village. The sky was soft and silver, clouds low and full. A single house by the edge of the fields still had its window open. Inside, a small child lay asleep, wrapped in a blanket the color of dawn. The sound of rain brushed gently against the glass, slow and even. The wind sighed once, and the house seemed to breathe with it. The child stirred, eyes fluttering, not from fear, but from comfort. The rain had become a voice, low and tender, the voice of the sky singing its ageless song. Each droplet a note, each gust of wind. Outside, the trees swayed slowly, their leaves catching and releasing the rhythm in time. The moon hung above, pale and kind, watching as she always had. She knew this song. She had heard it countless times, in countless places, in waves, and she knew what it meant. The world was remembering again the clouds' song. That first fragile hum, born of longing and courage, had never faded. It had become the foundation of calm itself, the pulse beneath all gentle things. It had learned, at last, what it had always been meant to teach, that peace is not the absence of sound, but the harmony between them. The child's breathing slowed. The rain's rhythm matched it perfectly. Inhale, exhale, fall, rest. Somewhere beyond thought, they became the same. The sound of sleep, the sound of rain, the sound of a world still humming its lullaby. And high above, hidden among the endless clouds, the night sky seemed to smile. The stars blinked softly in time, and the wind brushed the edges of the world with a whisper almost too faint to hear. It said only this: listen, and if you did, if you let the sound of the rain sink deep enough to touch the quiet part of your heart, you would hear it too, that faint, eternal hum, older than memory, gentle as sleep, the song of the sky, the lullaby that never fades. And so, every cloud that drifts today still hums the lullaby it once learned, softly for those who listen. And as the first light of morning touches the world, the little cloud drifts onward, carrying its song to the skies beyond. The night has heard its melody, and so have you. Carry this gentle hum within your heart, and let it guide your dreams. Good night, dear listener, until the next whisper of the night.